Welcome back, everyone. Here we go. So let me stop sharing the screen so I can see you all. Hopefully there was enough time to explore this important topic. And let's start with rule number 1. So we had Lisa Peters, Rui Gago, Scott Delaney, and David Cooper. So in a couple of minutes, what were the key takeaways from the conversation, guys? And who was volunteered to?
I'm the volunteer.
Thanks, Lisa.
So I volunteered myself. So we started with talking about sort of where we've come from, which was like a while back when we started our careers, the play hard, work hard sort of philosophy, and how things have changed for the better, fortunately. And however, there are still challenges. And whilst things have changed, say, from the play hard, work hard, the challenges are things like the technology, the always on, in that, you know, we've got emails and we've got Teams and phones and God knows what else, WhatsApps and all sorts of people to try and get in contact with us and distract us and those sorts of things. So the challenge about that always on technology. And then also the other challenge of, you know, what we've been through over the last couple of years, lots of working from home, therefore lots of, you know, going into back-to-back calls and missing those water cooler, go and get a cup of tea conversations that we can have when we're in the office. So not being able to sort of share as much around how we're feeling, you know, sort of around that theme of the prevention of the burnout, not being able to open up as much because we're not sort of having those sorts of, I guess, physical interactions. And then we talked about hacks, like tips and hacks. So Scott, his hacks are like exercising, running. He's also been a lot more critical about meetings and making them short and sharp so that there's the best use of time, giving the team back time. Rui, similar in terms of blocking time out of the calendars, getting his team to do that himself so that they're clear on what they're doing during the day. And Rui's, you know, his team and where he's working, they've moved away from just doing everything via Teams and just having call after call, and they're using Slack. So they internally use Slack to contact each other and get stuff done, and they only use Teams for external calls with customers. So he said that was very challenging to start with, but now they're into it. And so I thought that was super interesting. Not that I know a lot about Slack, but I'm going to go away and find out more about it now.
Developers, don't worry. That's
David talked about, I mean, in his intro earlier today, he talked about mindfulness and sitting out in the park, getting cold, doing that. He's actually going to do it next week, apparently, in a Minion onesie suit. Okay. Just because he can. And he talked about same thing, sort of moving or cancelling meetings that the team don't need to be in, sort of being a bit, let's get into the office and solve that particular problem rather than there being lots of set calls and those sorts of things. And then we just talked about being brave and vulnerable and being able to be a lot more open about these discussions about burnout and things like that to help prevent it, because when you can talk to people and catch it and help them, you know,
demystify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we talked about the stigma of mental health and the stigma of people not being able to say, hey, I'm having a really difficult day or difficult month or whatever, you know, being able to have those discussions and create that safe environment. I've been actually reading the Simon Sinek book about leaders eat last.
Eat first. Oh, that's right.
Maybe not the one I'm reading.
Eat last, yes.
Yes. But it's very interesting because he talks about that circle of trust. And just as we were finishing up the conversation, that's kind of what we were getting to, that circle of trust, that you create that safe environment where people can share and not feel like they're going to be thrown under the bus if they bring up that they're worried about something or they're vulnerable. And I think that's really important. The more I think about what makes a workplace work well is when there is that circle of trust and you can really say anything to anyone and know that you can have support and those sorts of things. So I think that's really interesting to prevent burnout, because then people aren't sort of hiding it as well. So that's it, room number 1.
Fantastic summary. Thanks so much, Lisa.
It's okay.
I'll ask David, Rui, Scott, do you have anything to add just in case? No? Okay. Wonderful. Thanks so much again, Lisa. Fantastic summary. High standards. Rule number 2. No pressure. Chris, Marco, Nadia, and Suzanne. Did you have someone to volunteer, put some thoughts together, some bullet points? What was the key? Thank you.
Yeah, that was myself. Yeah, so we sort of spoke through, I guess, the topic at hand and the discussion point. You know, it was quite, I think we all had consensus there around agreeing with the general view of it, and that it's needed more in organizations, particularly that, you know, more of that leads to happier employees, which leads to higher, you know, greater productivity at the end of the day. But really, productivity is what leads to self-satisfaction. So, you know, giving those people that reward, you know, they can reward themselves as well when they feel happy and they're being productive. I guess some of the things that we also talked about, though, is that, you know, we want to take care of our teams, but it's important to also take care of ourselves. And, you know, there was some, you know, key points there that, you know, we need to be forgiving of ourselves as leaders at times when we may not be handling the conversation in the right way, or a situation may turn into something that we could have, you know, done better or done differently. And that's something that, you know, otherwise we end up, you know, just loading that stress onto ourselves, which doesn't help the cause at all. It actually compounds it and makes it worse. So, yeah, self-forgiveness was a real core point that we got to at the end of the discussion. From that, we spoke about some other challenges, particularly around, you know, the fact that companies can put the pretty slides up on the walls and the values on the walls, but if it's not in the core values and the ethos and how the leaders and the managers behave and with their employees, then those core slides really can just make the problem worse, because we may be telling all the employees these things, but if we're not really living and breathing that stuff, it can kind of create a sour taste in their mouth. So really important to, I guess, ground and make sure that we are, you know, revisiting that ethos and those core values, and asking ourselves, how can we do better in the environments and the organizations and our teams? It really help cultivate. At the end of the day, kindness is free. So
and contagious.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and it's those little things, like it's something as simple as, you know, when your boss walks past with a grumpy face, imagine if they walk past with a smile. How contagious would that be? You'd smile, then you smile at another, and then they smile at another, and that just can really help cultivate a happier workplace. And it's those little things that really make all the difference sometimes. Some tips and hacks we spoke about as well, particularly around alarms, reminding yourself to take breaks, get out of the house, you know, take the dogs for a walk. Something that Nadia brought up is Ash Barty's coach, a motivational coach, I think it was, Ben. So, you know, she said, check him out, find that resource. I'm just going to zoom in on the notes here. My vision isn't that great there. Yeah, meditation as well. Meditation in the morning, doing yoga, stretches, getting back into your body as well. At the end of the day, if we're mentally aware of our bodies and our bodies feel better, then our mind operates better. It's nothing worse than sitting in the seat and you've got a sore back or sore points there. So, and that can just, you know, you don't realize it, but it really can play on the subconscious, which then can become part of the conscious. So other things, productivity timers. It's a little hack that I work with, is just a timer here that has like different times on it that I rotate and work with, and then I set it like working with like the Pomodoro technique.
For that.
Is, 20 minutes on, 5-minute break, 20 minutes on, 5-minute break. Always giving yourself that 5 minutes to stretch, go for a walk, get a drink, get away from the computer, and then you get into that 20 minutes again. You get that flow going, and it's like can be the most efficiency. And that's something that I try to cultivate within my own teams as well. And you try and focus and really get that focus in, because you might find you might focus a particularly different way to someone else. So, and then try and tie things together, work out your workflow of certain things. And at the end of the day, don't judge yourself too harsh and just be kind. Be kind to yourself and others. So
beauty. Thanks, Chris. I love the Pomodoro technique. It's really helpful to focus, giving yourself that reward. And agree, right. Looking after ourselves first. So self-forgiveness, then we can forgive others as well. Wonderful. Rule number 3, we had Nalaka, Rema, Rob, and Mulia. So who's the spokesperson?
Rob's the volunteer.
Thanks, Rob.
We did spend the majority of time just talking about how we identify if someone's actually feeling that stressed, or also some of the hacks as well. So a few things that we came up with, just for team members, sort of additional one-on-one meetings, of course, just to understand and take the time to listen. And we also made note that that it's a lot easier to do and identify if someone's stressed out if you've already known them. So, for example, the better you know them, the obviously easier it is to identify if they're acting a little bit out of character. I just brought up an example where I actually had team members that I brought into the team and they finished a project and left during COVID, where we actually never met them. So some of those situations made it a little bit more challenging. Some of the fun activities, so things like weekly connects. One that I actually liked, Malaha mentioned that they do hackathons as part of their sprints. So bring everyone into the office if they can attend for a core hackathon, typically lasting just 8 hours, but actually doing it as a celebration. So food, drinks, just celebrating the work that it's actually happening. We spoke to some formal things that you can do if anyone is in fact being stressed out. For example, pointing them to the employee assistance programs and things of that nature. But a couple of other important things that came up. I think a lot of people during COVID obviously got a lot of surprises. So there were several activities that individual leads are doing to try and minimize those surprises. So things like more communications, better planning, more newsletters, more activities, etc. A couple of other things again, Rima mentioned that she actually sets the scene, acts as an example where sometimes she'll just say, I need a couple of hours off. So actually telling the team that in essence, not only am I saying that it's okay to take some time to yourself, but actually living and breathing that particular value, which I think is very similar to what Chris was mentioning as well. One, I guess, that also comes into play, just appreciation. Chris mentioned sort of the thank you and the smiles, but actually taking the time to actually tell people that they're doing a good job, that they are truly appreciated, and taking some of that pressure off themselves, I think. And one more was actually during those one-on-ones, understanding what people want to achieve when they come to work, because I think often as leaders, we think everyone's there to work hard towards a common goal, but perhaps they're not. And that's okay as well. Person might in fact be there to be honest, to earn $1 and then go home as soon as they can. And you can actually utilise that and ensure that what they're doing aligns to the why as well, and hopefully decrease some of the stresses. That's it.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Rob. I love, especially the care factor of looking at what are the signs that we need to watch out to identify if something's actually happening and we need to give more attention. And appreciation at work. Sorry, I was multitasking. Just looked at the link because I agree so much. Appreciation can go so far. And the link that I shared there talks about the 5 different languages for appreciation, how different people actually can appreciate more different ways that we express. So from gift to service to words of affirmation and so on, based on quite extensive research. So check it out. Wonderful. Thanks, Rob. From room number 3, Nalaka, Rima, and Molia, do you have anything to add? I think Rob did a fantastic job as well, such as Lisa and Chris, but just asking. Anyone, anything to add? No?
All good. Thank you, Rob, for covering everything.
Beauty. All right. So we have 9 minutes to go. I can see David. I hope you're not in the call, David. The cleaners came up. I saw your message. You had to leave. I hope you still can stay with us for another few minutes. So I'd love to go around the room now, and for each one of you, hopefully have one thing, because we have those discussions. You know, it's good to get all the perspectives. We share, we talk. You know, I believe if we can get just one single thing that we are committing to do differently, or one insight really that could shift our way of working, our mindset, that can be very powerful. So hopefully we can crystallize from everything that you heard, that you spoke, discussed. Is that one thing that you are actually taking away with you today? What would that be, the main thing? So I would ask for volunteer, because that's not an easy answer, and then we go clockwise on my screen. So does anyone have something clear-ish in your mind?
I'm happy to go
Thanks,
first.
Marco, please.
Well, as Chris was talking about, the Pomodoro technique, tomato technique, I'm probably going to give that a go. It sounds interesting. I'd kind of loosely heard of it before, but yeah, it was a good reminder. So I don't know whether I'll get a cube timer, but I'll definitely get some type of timer and maybe give that a go tomorrow.
Brilliant. Is a winner.
$3 on it, because this one's broken on me right now.
Right.
I was going to ask Ed one more as well. Let's talk, take this offline. Thank you, Marco. Suzanne.
Yeah, I was grateful to be reminded of Ash Barty's coach, because I can remember he came into prominence for a little bit there when she decided just to quit tennis. And everyone was like, what do you mean you can't quit tennis? And actually the way that he was thinking about it, the way that he had talked to her is about, your work isn't you, you're not your work. And it was in the way that he described it was quite shocking to me at the time, even though I know that. So I'm going to go back and reread. So I was grateful to be reminded that it was always there. I wanted to read more and hear more about what they had to say. So I was grateful for that one.
Thanks, Suzanne. I totally relate, and that can often lead to burnout. And when we identify so strongly with our role at work, that's when we can, give too much, perhaps. Thank you, Rui.
Sorry, I was actually just distracted and actually looking at the tips. But the reason why what I want to practice is the time management component of actually setting a clock, because I actually realized in my home office I don't have a clock in here. But I think just actually giving myself permission to actually take a break, right? I think it's easy to forget, because, yeah, that's what I want to practice.
Beautiful. Thanks, Rui. Kindness to self. Very good. Thank you. Nalaka, what's your one thing?
I think setting yourself up to something measurable and achievable, and achieve that make you happy, and a lot of things go away. Whether you're even going for a bike ride, or you set yourself for 5 kilometers, when I achieve that, I feel good about it. Same with work, and break down the task where each task is less than 8 hours. If someone give a massive task, break it down into 3 to 4 tasks and accomplish one at a time, and that give that leverage and the accomplishment, the sense of achievement, which makes you extremely happy at home or at work, and you carry it back and forth, right? That's what we do every day. So I think that's what I learned.
Thanks, Nalaka. Rima.
Okay, lots of good things, refreshers and pointers. I'll just pick one. So a really good reminder to have something in your day for that intentional activity for mindfulness. So David, I don't think I'll be going to the middle of the park in winter, but I will think of something. My favorite activity to calm me down is to make a cup of tea. But if I think about it, I think I've been rushing it. So I just need to slow that down a little and make it that mindfulness activity. Thank you.
Thanks, Rima. And yeah, a cup of tea can be a whole mindful ritual. Absolutely. I'm conscious of time. So Rob, so Rob, yes.
For
No,
me,
please go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a reminder, and it's come up a couple of times, to practice self-compassion. Because I think often as leaders, we tend to give empathy or compassion to our teams, but quite often we forget to do the same thing with ourselves.
Align with Rui. Yes, thank you. Lisa.
Just taking more breaks during the day to just be more mindful and refresh, make a mindful cup of tea so that when I go back into the next thing, I'm refreshed. Yep.
Thanks, Lisa, which I think, David, that's what you've been doing, right? 2 minutes break regularly. But what was your key takeaway from today, David?
I think it was that self-care, it sort of reinforced, all the conversations have reinforced, look after myself, because if I can't look after myself, I can't look after my team. And we always try to focus on our teams, but the teams mimic you as well. So, make sure you are the best person you can be, and then your teams will hopefully be the best people they can be.
So true. Thanks, David. And even based on neuroscience, mirror neurons actually literally, they are mirroring our behaviors and mindset. Scott.
Yeah, thanks. Mine's one that Lisa brought up, a technique known as a lifeline technique, which sounds, I think, intriguing and definitely worth a bit more of a look at what it might actually be able to bring to the table. So happy to go and investigate that one.
Thanks, Scott. Nadia.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I'm being technology challenged. Video is not working.
Okay.
So for me, there's two. One is, leading by example. I think someone had mentioned that earlier. I think several people did mention that as well. And I'm going to give the Pomodoro technique a try. I thought that was quite new for me. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking that up. Thanks,
Brilliant.
Chris.
Thanks, Nadia. Thank you. Molia.
Yeah, so sorry, I had to turn my camera on and off because I'd been on the move throughout the session. So yeah, I had a lot of takeaways during the session, and one of them was what Rima mentioned, that her mother told her that when you're in the kitchen, what if there's a gas leak or a pipe burst? Many times at work, we're always in that situation. It feels like the world will stop turning if you don't take a break, or I just can't take a day off because work will stop. But that's not the case. If you don't take a break, then it would go to such a situation that it's going to cause even more chaos for ourselves and for the team. So important to take a break. The other thing was, can't remember now, but I did get a lot of takeaways. One thing that I did, or what I really enjoy is I enjoy dancing. So I used to, like during the COVID times, I used to just go and do a bit of dance, a few steps, and you get breathless. It's exercise as well, and then I come back to work. And so in our company, we had these sessions called isolation series because we're all isolated. So we come and we do some activity together. And that time I had done a dance session for the whole team, for the whole company, in fact, and selected songs related to COVID, which was like MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This, and Staying Alive by Bee Gees, and another one, I Was Mine, I think. So that was fun. Yeah, that was fun. Everyone enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and they want to one more session of it. So yeah, I mean, I think do whatever you like. If it's making a cup of tea, if it's dancing or singing, just go and do that for 2-3 minutes and come back to work.
Love it. Thanks so much, Molia. So true. Your point earlier that yeah, we're burning out. We're not making a favor to anyone, right? Because it's not sustainable to go in a crazy pace, and eventually that happens. And movement, or moving the body. Dopamine kicks, the neurochemicals in the brain. Very, very beneficial indeed. Thank you. Great insight. And Michael, I think you're lucky last.
if I can find my unmute button. It's somewhere on the screen. I think, well, the first takeaway, I'll go through two of them because the first one's really quick, and the first one's that Minion onesies are way cheaper than I thought they were. So I think I need to go and buy one. Thank you, Big W, for letting me know about that. Yeah, I like the reminder that somewhere in there someone mentioned that the number of Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. And I needed the little reminder. Personally, I find Zoom meetings to be much easier than in-person meetings. They take far less toll on me, and I can do them for a lot longer. Not everyone's like that. I should probably be a bit more conscious of that and understand that some people prefer the in-person ones, and that maybe I should be the one taking the toll a little bit there as well.
Good reflection. Thanks, Michael, for sharing. And look at this. We are just in time. Fantastic. I thought it would be a little bit over. So we've done our reflection, and Michael will be, if you haven't yet, just about to share the link to our feedback survey. It should take you 2 minutes to complete. Just only 4 questions. It'll be really helpful if you could take a moment to complete that. And yeah, so once again, thank you so very much for those, especially who were quite tired when you arrived. Hopefully you found that your time was well invested and you feel slightly more energized, more inspired. And yeah, look forward to see you in our next roundtable. So thanks so much for coming. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.